Let's continue with your dioecious flukes, your blood flukes. Okay, now your dioecious flukes class, they are the most important digenetic parasites of man inhabiting the veins of their definitive host. Now, there are actually many species of schistosomes, but there are only 5 species which are clinically significant, causing human infections. And these are your Schistosoma japonicum, mansoni, Hematobium intercalatum, and your Mekongii. Now, all Schistosoma species class, they share the similarities in terms of their life cycle and morphology, especially of the adult form. Now, with regard to this topic, I will be discussing their life cycle all at once. Now, let us start off with their morphology. The adult form of all Schistosoma species are almost the same. Okay? Lalo na yung kanilang adult form. Okay? Now, take note class that the male and female adult worms, they live typically in pairs. Now, the male surrounds the female. The male surrounds the female almost completely, facilitating copulation. Okay. Then take note class that your males are quite larger compared to the female adult. They are grayish in color and then they have this structure what we call gynecophoral canal na makikita sa male adult. This structure, it has the function to hold your adult female. So, ang itsura ng ating male and female schistosoma, yung male, it looks like parang kinikradle niya yung kanyang female adult. Yung kanyang female partner. Now, wherein these female adults naman, they are thread-like structure measuring about 2 cm in length. And then, for the ova of your schistosoma species, okay, magkakaiba sila ng itsura class. Magkakaiba sila ng itsura. Now, paano mo malalaman yung kanilang distinguishing features? You will base it now from their location and the appearance of their spine. Okay, so unahin natin si Schistosoma mansoni. Your Schistosoma mansoni, also known as your Manson's blood fluke, it is relatively large, measuring about 112 to 182 micrometer by 40 to 75 micrometer. Now, the ova of this organism is somewhat oblong in shape, and then they possess a prominent large lateral spine. Whereas your Schistosoma japonicum naman, also known as your oriental blood fluke or visceral blood fluke, they are somewhat roundish. Okay? Round yung kanilang shape, and then they are considered as the smallest of all the Schistosoma species, measuring about 50 to 85 micrometer by 38 to 60 micrometer. Now, the egg is characterized by the presence of small lateral spine in which it is often very difficult to detect during the microscopic examination kasi very, very discrete yung itsura ng kanyang spine. And then lastly, we have your Schistosoma hematobium, also known as your vesicular or vesical blood fluke, also known as your bladder fluke. Now, the ova is somewhat oblong in shape also, measuring about 110 to 170 micrometer by 38 to 70 micrometer. Now, the presence of large terminal spine, okay, distinguishes the egg from the other species of Schistosoma species. Now, let us talk about the life cycle of your blood flukes. Okay? Now, each female fluke class, they deposit 500 to 2,000 immature eggs per day in the branches of the portal vein of the liver. The maturation of these eggs usually takes place within 10 to 12 days. Okay? So, these eggs that are being deposited in the mucosal terminal veins in the wall of the intestine will escape through ulceration and will be passed out in the feces. Okay? So, sa madaling salita class, sa loob pa lang ng katawan, nag-maturate na yung ova ng ating schistosoma. So, once it is being deposited in the outside environment, it is already mature. Okay, now this mature ova, once the embryonation has been complete, okay, tapos when it comes in contact with the water, it will immediately hatch. Okay, it will immediately hatches and liberate its free swimming ciliated larva, what we call miracidium. Now, this miracidium will seek now its first intermediate host, specifically your your first snail intermediate host. In the case of Schistosoma japonicum, their first intermediate host belongs to the genus Oncomelania. Whereas your Schistosoma hematobium naman, their first snail intermediate host belongs to the genus Bionfalaria, and Bulimus. And then for your Schistosoma mansoni naman class, their first snail intermediate host belongs to the genus Bionfalaria, Tropicorbis, Australorbis. So, ayun, yun lang pala. Bionfalaria, Tropicorbis, and Australorbis. Now, once the miracidium is inside the snail host, the first intermediate host, your miracidium will develop into sporocyst. It will develop into sporocyst. And then, from these developmental stages, this sporocyst will then turn into cercaria. It will then turn into cercaria. This time, your cercaria will serve as the infective stage for the definitive host. Now, this cercaria will leave the snail host, lalabas siya, and become free-swimming larva again. This time, we call it your cercaria. Okay? Ang itsura ng cercaria class, meron siyang tail, which is fork-tailed, fork yung itsura ng kanyang tail. Now, once na makalabas yan sa water, once a definitive host comes into contact with water, okay, anong gagawin ng cercaria natin? Your cercaria will then enter or penetrate the skin of the definitive host. Okay? This cercaria will penetrate the skin of the host through the action of their proteolytic enzymes. Now, during this process, your cercaria will cast off its tail and becomes schistosomule. Magiging schistosomule siya. Yung ulo na lang ang naiwan. Okay? And then, once na makapasok na yung ating schistosomule, once inside the host, this schistosomule will enter the circulation. Okay, it will enter the circulation, and then it will migrate into the liver, and then finally into the portal veins of the intrahepatic portal veins of the liver. Now, take note class that part of their life cycle kasi is to undergo maturation into adult forms sa portal veins pa lamang. Kailangan nilang mag-mature sa portal veins ng liver natin. Now, once fully developed na yung mga yan, they will migrate to their designated habitats. Okay? So, in the case of Schistosoma japonicum, their usually habitat is the superior mesenteric veins of the intestine. Whereas your Schistosoma mansoni, it parasitizes the inferior mesenteric veins or the rectum. And then your Schistosoma hematobium, it parasitizes the veins of the urinary bladder.